All right, here we go. Final evidence bank. We're outside. It's a beautiful evening. Good reminder to get outside, go for a walk, touch some grass. Don't just be holed up in your desk. That's not what we want. We need to get outside and stay active. Let's get into it. This is going to help you if you're really struggling and you're just looking to bolster up your evidence. It's not everything, but some of these might come in handy on Friday. So for weapons of mass destruction, a quote from the UN, their highest priority is eliminating nuclear weapons. Fantastic. The USA, they want to defend the homeland and deter use against the USA and allies. Russia suspended their involvement in New START, and ISIS sought a chemical weapons program. So all of that, little pieces of evidence that you can use to bolster a responses sort of question. For armed conflict, here are some responses from NATO. They expanded membership. They added Finland and Sweden, and members increased defence spending by more than 10%. So everyone in NATO spent a little bit more money on defence, which is a big response to the crisis. The EU spent 100 billion euros on Ukraine in aid. The UN condemned the invasion in the General Assembly, but action by the Security Council couldn't get anywhere because why? Vetoes. What do we like to say that sounds smart? Structural limitations. Russia, Putin said that he wanted to demilitarize and denazify, so you could use that in an interest or a perspectives question. And a consequence of the armed conflict, the nice simple one, is 6 million displaced and a global food and energy crisis. For China, for the BRI, nice and simple, 150 states, and we might talk about debt trap diplomacy if we are looking for a negative. Their navy is now the largest in the world if we're looking at how they've achieved their security interests. For trade, they've used their trade relationships within the region as a weapon, and an example of that is the barley and wine tariffs that they put on Australia, which were recently wound back. So you could talk about both the fact that they were put on and the fact that they were recently wound back. In diplomacy, you can talk about how China's used diplomacy to achieve some national interests, including with the Solomon Islands deal, where they gave the Solomon Islands security guarantees and lots of money in exchange for, among other things, recognition that Taiwan is a part of China. And finally, for Australia, we've just got some little stats we can use when we talk about AUKUS. You can say Australia is spending $368 billion on the alliance, which is to get the submarines. We can talk about the Pacific Step Up, which is $2 billion of infrastructure funding, can be your number there. When we talk about trade, you can say 30% of our trade goes to China. And when you talk about the Quad, you could say that the Quad represents 44% of trade in the region. And you could say that the Quad is aiming to be aiming to create a peaceful, stable, prosperous Indo-Pacific. So there's your final evidence bank. Now, why am I wearing this beautiful red and blue blazer with colours on there for volleyball and handball, showing off my incredibly successful school career? Well, not many people can fit into their blazer at 35, so that's a challenge for a few of the blokes. Chuck that school blazer on and make sure that you can still fit into it at 35.